Welcome to another segment of the Pu'u Muay Thai YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, make sure to hit subscribe, follow. If you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to go down and hit follow. Today we're going to be talking about shin guards that you should not be using for sparring in Muay Thai. Do not use these shin guards. It's something that I see very common. You see it on videos on YouTube. You see it students coming to the doors at our academies, a bunch of other programs and stuff like that I've worked at throughout time. And time again, I've seen these things be a leading cause of injury for people. Now, this day and age, we have things such as Amazon, there's Authentic Muay Thai Supply, your local fight store that's available. There's Super Rare, a bunch of different of these fight stores that are available, not only here in the US, but there's also international availability. Back when I first started 15 years ago, we did not have this kind of availability for equipment. And Muay Thai wasn't that popular. So it was really hard to find stuff online to buy specifically for Muay Thai. If you weren't in Thailand, if you didn't have a Thai trainer who had a connection in Thailand that was sending them basically ideal equipment that you would need for Muay Thai. When I first started, I was actually gifted a pair of these shin guards that are not ideal. And I didn't know that at the time. Later on, as I got more involved in Muay Thai, I started finding the proper training equipment. If you didn't check out the previous video I did on your Thai steel cup and why you need to have it, check it out right here. It's very important. That was one of those very big pieces of training equipment similar to this. About anybody that's out there should be having this piece of equipment, especially men. Going back to my story, I did have a pair of these shin guards and they were gifted to me when I first started. And funny enough, we actually give these to our new students when they enroll as well, but we talk to them specifically about when they're going to be using these shin guards, and we'll go over that a bit today as well. Going back on to finding this equipment and being able to get high quality equipment for Muay Thai striking, we used to have to go down to like San Fernando Valley. There was one or two places you could actually go. The main one was Pro Boxing Supplies. They make some great equipment, and even they have started to make more high density shin guards. I haven't found like a pair that I really am like a big fan of that they sell, but they've definitely come a long way, especially in their Thai pads that they would have and everything as well. Not only this, but it was very hard to find the proper equipment. There was really a lack of education at the time. Now with things like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and the availability of information that's online through these authentic Muay Thai resources. You're looking at one of them right now. If you haven't checked out some of the other videos you had from the Thai trainers in Thailand, things of that nature, definitely go check out the other videos on our channel. You're going to want to see, and also check out the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't listened to the podcast, we have over 100 episodes currently. You're definitely going to dig it. We're one of the top Muay Thai podcasts in the world. Over time, I learned that these shin guards were not ideal. And again, I see these all the time. They're even selling some of these in sporting goods stores now. So it's becoming more and more of like a thing, and it needs to be addressed and talked about, especially if you're serious about training Muay Thai. That way you can protect yourself, protect your training partner. It's your body that you have. You only get one. So you want to make sure to protect it, especially when you're training martial arts. You want to be able to train day in, day out in a safe and effective way. We're going to go into why you shouldn't use these specific set of shin guards. The number one shin guard you should not be using for high intensity sparring and sparring for a long-term basis is cloth shin guards. Cloth shin guards, they're kind of like a sock shin guard that goes over your leg, that has an instep protector and a shin protector. These shin guards, a lot of people, they think that these are a simple way to get involved into sparring. But the thing is, they're not really meant for sparring. They're meant to just take a little bit of the edge off the shin on shin contact. When you're using these for sparring, you're probably going to end up busting your foot, busting your shin on a knee or on a shin or on an elbow. It's very important that you know that these aren't really meant for that. If you have like an injury and you're trying to baby it, maybe you have bruised shin, bruised foot from whatever reason or another, hitting the bag wrong, kicking an elbow, that's when you'd want to use those shin guards. In fact, we actually give these shin guards to our kids so that way when they're hitting the bags and their bodies are still getting used to it, they're able to have a little bit more protection for when they're making those mistakes and banging their foot on the bag. They're not getting punished right away. For adults, it's a different story. We take, I don't want to say motivation from being injured, but it definitely helps us make a correction. Whereas a kid, you're going to see them, you want them to be encouraged and to have fun with it. That way they stick to it for the long term. So you're in a different stage of developmental cycles. So that's why we do that for the kids. But even for adults that are a little apprehensive about injuries, it's a great way for them to get started and involved in Muay Thai using these cloth shin guards as they start conditioning their legs more and more, and they can take them off or put them on when they get their legs banged up. These cloth shin guards also are sold in sporting goods stores, and they're shown like they'll put like UFC labels on them, branding, Century. But again, these are really meant for like semi-contact stuff, not full contact training. These shin guards will actually be used in competition to, again, they take a little bit of that bite off, and to help protect the feet, just take a little bit of the bite off and help a little bit on taking the sting off of kicking an elbow or a knee to help protect the competitor, especially if they're competing multiple times in a day and or a weekend. These shin guards are not going to be something that give you ample protection for yourself and for your training partner, especially if you're newer and you're still learning control. When you're learning control, again, you're throwing body parts at somebody, your leg, your punches, your knees. So you want to learn in a safer way for when you accidentally slip up. Maybe you go a little too hard. If you go a little bit too hard with the cloth shin guards, chances are, one, your sparring partner probably won't like it. Two, there's a good chance that you're probably going to kick into a knee or an elbow, especially when you're first starting. It gives you that false sense of security. So it's very important that you don't wear these shin guards while you're doing sparring, especially later on. These shin guards can also be used as a pad holder, because when you're holding pads for somebody and you want to have them check, you can have them check and you just throw a light kick, controlled kick at them so that way they can check. So it's a simple way for a pad holder to get more introduced into like live pad sparring in a way that will allow them to be more conductive for the person who's striking and for the person who's holding, because then they're getting practice throwing nice, slow, controlled kicks, especially for beginners. It's very important for you to understand that, and it's something that I see time and time again. And it's not to say that I'm not trying to knock on anybody who is involved in Muay Thai that's using these shin guards, because a lot of people just don't know, and that's what I'm making this video for. We get a lot of students that ask us, how come this shin guard isn't good? There's a lot of other, like, I don't want to call them bad shin guards, but they're definitely more or less like the cloth shin guards, where I wouldn't recommend them at all for somebody who's going to be like in our program sparring. With the cloth shin guards, you can get away with it if you have really good control, but most people when they're starting do not have that good control. So it's very important to protect yourself and your training partners. And also, just a little side note for you, there's a couple other brands. One of those brands that I really don't recommend from Muay Thai is Hayabusa shin guards. They're priced at a very high price point. And it's funny, I'll see these people that come in with the cloth shin guards and say, hey, you should get better shin guards, like a Thai brand that's more made for specifically just striking. And they'll come in with Hayabusas and they're complaining about money. I'm like, man, aren't those things like $180? They're not cheap. I mean, if you want to buy those and do that, that's great. But I personally recommend the Top King shin guards, Fairtex, Twins. There's a lot of other of these Thai brands that are coming out there. Venom even makes some decent shin guards. But definitely you want to stay away from the Hayabusa gear. It's basically overpriced sporting goods equipment for the most part. From what I've seen as of recording this video, I've never seen a pair of shin guards from Hayabusa that I personally like or that our students end up liking. Which goes into my next segment, is the shin guards you should be using. So when you come into shin guards that you should be using stuff like the Twins shin guards that are either leather. You can also get synthetic leather ones as well, that they make some pretty decent synthetic leather shin guards from Top King, Fairtex. I think some of the other Thai brands use it. For me, personally, I'm plant-based and vegan, so I try to get the synthetic leather ones, but they are typically not made as well as the leather ones, and they fall apart a little bit faster in my experience. I hope one day that changes, but until then, I will definitely be using like the leather style shin guards, and as well recommend to our students until I find a really good brand that I can recommend that is made of synthetic leather. For these shin guards, they're going to have more protection around the instep. They're going to have additional high density padding. They're going to be light still, and they have straps around the back. That way you can feel the person's ankle, their Achilles and stuff like that too. They're going to have more protection up at the top of the shin for where you're checking, and more protection around the ankle where like your ankle bends right here. So that way it's protected. If you don't have the protection there, it's easier to get fucked up. Excuse my French, but I can always blur that out later, right? When you're using these high density shin guards, they're made specifically for high intensity sparring for multiple days in a row. So it's very important for when you're catching those elbows, especially when you're training, to protect not only yourself, but your training partner as well. Because if they're wearing cloth shin guards and they catch an elbow on you, it's not going to feel good for them. And you want to make sure your training partner can come back the next day, do newborn training with you, to clinch, do more boxing sparring, different things of that nature too. And you want to make sure that you keep your body as healthy as possible. The reason you don't see people using these high intensity shin guards is because they're not really available in sporting goods stores. They're not available at Walmart, Big Five, Dick's, whatever sporting goods store you have. You're not going to see these kinds of shin guards. And you'll think about the same thing for gloves too. We'll make that in another video. But when it comes into shin guards, it's very important for you to understand that when you have those shin guards, they're going to last you a long time. So if you're just getting involved and you're getting invited into sparring, whether it be at our academy or other programs, it's very good that you invest in a high density, performance-based Muay Thai shin guards such as Twins, Top King Boxing, Fairtex, and Venom. Venom makes some decent ones as well. There is a couple other brands such as Windy, and they're like not as readily available, and there's always new stuff coming on the market. There's also the classics like Sandy, Sandee. Those are also very good as well. Again, you're going to want to look for something that's high density that has the straps around the back. That is not a cloth-based shin guard. You'll see commonly stuff like I was talking about the Hayabusa stuff. That's more or less made for MMA striking, for grappling and rolling around the ground and still having a little bit of that high intensity sparring protection, but it's not strictly for stand-up. They're more for MMA style training where it has a little more flexibility for you to move and do takedowns and things of that nature, which you might want to do some different type of sparring. I'm not going to get into that in this video. Maybe we will in the future. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below. We have had a lot of experience training MMA fighters and training around MMA. Being based in Southern California, it's a hotbed for MMA, right? If you have a question about some of the shin guards, I'm going to link them down below for a couple different ones you can order just on Amazon. That's very simple, that I highly recommend for you. They ship directly to you. There's going to be different suppliers. I'll do my best to update them. If you ever go down there and they're no longer available, please let me know. Drop a comment. Hey, those links don't work anymore. I'll go on. I'll find some new links for you and make some other recommendations. If you're a student at our academy, let us know. We can order direct for you as well. I also want to give a plug to our friends at Combat Corner. They make some dope made in Thailand equipment. Also some, I don't want to call it mid-tier equipment, but it's definitely like more like, doesn't cost as much for you to get decent equipment through Combat Corner. I highly recommend them. Again, I'll put the link down in the show notes for Combat Corner stuff as well. And now that that's settled, did you know that most people come in to training with the wrong hand wraps?